Hi, I'm Mark from Between the Reeds, and I'm going to give you another tip, and this tip is about bait. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth, as I've touched slightly on bait before, but I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth. But firstly, I just want to explain how I'm qualified to talk about bait for big carp specifically. So before I start, I'll just explain for people that haven't seen the other videos that when I'm talking, I'm not just talking from the fact that I've fished for so many years and caught lots of big carp. So I'm not talking just from that experience. I have another layer on top of that where I've run a big carp fishery, and it was for a while, it was exclusively big carps. If you didn't get your rigs right, you didn't get everything perfect, you were blank. So it was a really good learning pad. And then on top of that is another layer. Now, that layer is that I run it as a fishery. So I was able to witness, must be thousands of anglers fish the lake now, and I would learn from if someone was doing particularly well or if someone was doing bad. I would sit and I would learn. And if I saw something that was useful, I would take it and copy it and incorporate it into my game, and I come up with this whole system that I use now to catch big carp from them 3 layers, because normally it's someone who fishes a lot is going to give you advice, but then I say I've got them added layers of running the lake, so I had an opportunity just to target the big carp, and then also the fact that thousands of people have fished it. So I have then witnessed every type of rig, every type of setup, most expensive rods and bait boats and most complicated rigs to basic rigs, every type of bait, you name it, it's been used at my lake, and I've seen it and I've seen how it's done, and then I'll be able to compare it. So I've got a real unique position, and I'm coming from that position, and I'm going to talk a little bit about bait today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about bait because bait is one of the crucial elements to catching. Again, my videos are about specifically big carp. Now, smaller carp, they will just dive on bait, make mistakes. So we are discounting, when I say big carp, generally I'm talking 40 pounds up. Anything below that, I put them in a different category because they tend to feed differently. So I'm just looking to target consistently big carp. So when I'm talking, that's what I'm talking in reference to when I say carp. So today I'm going to talk about bait, and if you hear any strange noises in the background, it's my dog. He's running around. I'm sitting at the bottom of my garden, and as you can probably see in the background, there is there's a river that runs along the bottom of the garden, which is great for fishing as well. So bait. Now, I've said it in one of my other videos and I've touched on it, but one of the big mistakes people make is bait. And what I say is often the bait is made to catch the fisherman and not the carp, because some baits are so overpoweringly strong, it's more to catch the angler. So the angler goes, "Cool, that smells great, that's going to attract the fish a mile off." Now, what we're smelling and what the fish are smelling are 2 different things. And what may be attractive to us may not be attractive to the fish, and also what may be attractive, which may draw the fish in, may then also not be may not encourage the fish to feed. So there's multiple layers to this. So these strong smells, carp don't need you to shout at them chemically, they just need a food that they can trust. So if you're putting in really strong smells, what it can do is make the carp think that this is something to be cautious of, as opposed to, oh wow, diving on the bait. Now, again, we're talking big, clever carp here. If you go into a runs water where they really need the food, then smell a good attractant can attract them in and they'll get straight on it. But we're talking specifically big wise carp that have been in lakes, and like on my lake, there's certain fish that will go years without getting caught, and then they come out and they're much bigger. So they've been feeding the whole time, but they've been avoiding the angler's bait. So we're talking about those carp, the big carp. And as I say, they do feed differently. So sometimes what can be a dinner bell on one lake can be a warning bell on another lake. So these carp know, okay, what I find happens is these carp know, okay, this bait has just gone in, and they'll avoid it for a few days. By then, the angler goes, there's no carp on this spot, and he starts a new spot, and the carp just end up following you around the lake, picking up the old washed out bait. So what you want to do is not necessarily go for the strongest smell. See, people look at me like I'm a little strange when I catch a lot of my big carp on things like sweet corn, or luncheon meat, or chickpeas, or I catch a lot of big fish on no smell. I don't tend to glug my baits. If I put boilies in, they're not strong smelling boilies. So what I would suggest, my tip today regarding bait, is don't go too strong, because a lot of people will put like a half a litre of glug in with a load of boilies and pellet and boat that bait out there, and that can kill it for you, particularly at times of year when the carp don't want to get caught. So, which is now when it's hot, oxygen levels are low, they've been pressured for a lot of the year, they're not interested in getting caught, they'll switch to naturals. I can give you an example. So I was fishing a lake, and there was a group of us, and it got to about Thursday, no one had a fish. Now at the time we didn't realise they were spawning, and they were actually like spawning on the bottom of the lake. We'd see all these massive plumes of bubbles, and we would cast at them, they'd stop, and then they'd appear somewhere else, and you would just chase them around all week. We couldn't catch them. Now the fish were not interested in a bait. Now I was sitting by the edge of the lake wondering what to try next, so we'd tried every type of bait, and I saw a crayfish in the margin, a little European type crayfish, and it was shedding. So I thought, wow, maybe they're eating crayfish, because when they shed, the shells are soft and they're vulnerable, and maybe that's what they're eating. So I caught the crayfish, and I killed the crayfish, and I hair rigged it, whole crayfish, put it out there, and I had a carp. And that's when we realised they were spawning, because this carp had a wound on its side so bad I could see its intestines hanging out, and I didn't think that it would, I wasn't sure if it'd survive. I didn't know how to hold it properly because it was wounded, so I put it straight back, and that fish consequently was fine a couple of months later. They can be very resilient. So, but I then put another crayfish out and caught another fish. Then all of a sudden everyone around the lake is now hunting for crayfish, because this was the only thing they was touching. So when they didn't want to get caught, nothing, you couldn't tempt them on nothing. They would only take which they knew was safe, which was naturals. So, and we've had people come to the lake and do really well on things like worms, because most people turn up and it's boilie approach, and it's glugs, and it's attractants and flavours, and some people just do really well on the simple things. So my tip on bait is what attracts you doesn't necessarily attract the fish. So you don't, sometimes it's better to go with what they're going to think is safe, as opposed to what is going to call them in from the other side of the lake. Now certain times of year you'll catch fish on anything, on any smell, any attractant, but to consistently catch the big ones, and to catch fish when they're really playing hardball, and to single out those big smarter carp, be careful with your smells, your glugs, and sometimes natural is better. That's my tip today. If you like it, give us a follow, give us a thumbs up, and you can always check out the website. I'll put that link down there as well. Thanks. Speak to you again soon.